leave. I said, well, is there a job here for me? And he said, well, I can't make that commitment. I said, well, I've got a job to get back to. So I went back to Ottawa, and soon after got a phone call from the person who was going to become the chief of staff, and she offered me a job, and my plan to law school went by the wayside, and then started a new chapter in my career working for Premier Ham.
I'm still 15 years later trying to decide why I actually took the job. I took the job just shortly before Christmas, and I think maybe it was a really weird Christmas present for myself. I started on the 2nd of January. So why I took the job, I guess at the time I must have thought it was going to be kind of cool. That didn't last very long. I think the main reason was throughout my career in journalism I have been involved in covering politics, and this was an opportunity to jump in with both feet to really discover what was going on the other side. You know, we all had preconceived notions about these spin doctors working on the other side of the fence, and so this was my opportunity to actually see what it was like, and the rest, they say, is history.
Well, I have to blame Rob. Actually, I was looking to leave television and start doing something different, and had known Rob fairly well, and sought his counsel. And during that time, Sasha announced she was leaving the Premier's office. So Rob said, "Well, would you be interested in that?" And be a good move. And then he was absolutely right. Despite many challenges, it was probably the best job I've ever had, except for the free beer in this current job, maybe the best job. But it was an awful lot of fun. We had many challenges, but we had a real closeness in the office. As David said, you get to see firsthand how decisions are made and why decisions are made. You don't always understand them even then, but that's the political process. So, had an idea that it might not have been a long-term endeavor when I joined, but we worked as hard as we could to try to be successful. And in some cases we were very successful, in other cases we weren't. But became very good friends with Premier MacDonald, remained very good friends with him and others in the office, and met a lot of great people in the place. So for me, it was never had any design on being there, but once there was no doubt it was just a fantastic decision.
Well, mine was more of a necessity, really. I was at CBC Television at the time. I was being transferred to Ottawa to work on the Hill. At the same time, I was going through a divorce, and my daughter was quite young at the time, so I really didn't like the idea of being separated from her. So I needed a job, and they had approached me before. And like the others, I let's see what's on the other side of the wall. I was quite a bit disappointed because I thought they had a plan. There's no masterminds out there. And I actually stayed a long time, too long. Initially for a 3-year contract because I thought things would move around. But each time it seemed when I wanted to leave, there was an election called. That wouldn't be the honorable thing to do. So I ended up staying there 8 years, I guess. I went back into the media. I was fortunate to be accepted back there, and sort of crisscrossed ever since. So it was more necessity. Great experience. I mean, I suppose, it's like giving birth. Great experience, but it wasn't at the time. So.
I'd like each of you to take us through a crisis you dealt with while you were in government. We'll start with John, and we'll just work our way back across the table. Lead us through a crisis you had to deal with while you were in government, and talk to us about what worked, what didn't work, and maybe what you might have done differently in retrospect.
Well, we had a lot of problems, as some of you may recall. Probably a lot of you were still in grade school, I guess, as I look around. We had the Rolly Thornhill affair, we had the Billy Joe affair, expenses, when Quintus resigned his seat and leave the legislature, and the legislature had to meet and expel him, in other words. We had other expense scandals. Yeah, I mean, the masterminds who were charged yesterday didn't invent it, been around for a while. I guess the hardest part I found in any crisis is getting people to own up to, in fact, the truth that they have a problem. And my experience in whether, no matter what it is, it's basically the truth's going to come out, so the sooner you can get it, the better it is. I know politicians have trouble admitting they make mistakes. I think if they do, everybody makes mistakes. The sooner they acknowledge they made a mistake and move on, I think people think better of them, rather than dragging it out and eventually the whole truth is going to come out and people say, well, why didn't you do it earlier? So I guess I always told them, why would you want to let yourself beat up? You beat up for so long. So in the Thornhill thing, it was a very personal thing because he was the Minister of Finance at the time and had been a stockbroker and overextended himself in the market. As a result, he lost everything, had to go bankrupt, sold his cottage, sold his interest in his house. His brother-in-law, who was quite a prominent individual still here, gave him a lot of money. And frankly, Rolly just didn't want to, bare his soul to the public. And the Premier was very, very, is one of his strong suits, is loyalty, and he basically supported Rolly all along the way. Just for instance, as for background, the reason it came out is that there was a local lawyer, and his company was basically one of their clients was a bank. And this fellow was also a member of the Liberal Party and very ambitious. And the documents got leaked somehow, and they weren't leaked to the other parties, they were leaked to the labor organization. And pretty soon the labor organizations, obviously, great supporters of the NDP, were showing up in the legislature and say, we have a Minister of Finance who has declared personal bankruptcy. What does that tell you? So it went on and on and on, and basically I think the hardest thing that I found was to talk to the Premier and to talk to Rolly that, how long do you want this to go on? Well, you're not the first to go bankrupt, you won't be the last. There had been other politicians who have been in similar situations, but the media were doing their job. They were fed the information, and it was a good story. They were pretty relentless. So that was that one, and the one about Billy Joe McLean, of course, was another matter where Billy Joe, if you know of him, he's quite a character. John Buchanan was godfather to one of his children. Premier Billy Joe thought that said he shouldn't resign his seat, and nobody could talk him into resigning his seat, and eventually the legislature had to deal with it. So that was very painful all the way around. Of course, the media at this time, it was, it was fresh kill. It was a good story. So it wasn't pleasant, but, and we had other things, the expense scandals, of course. We didn't know Malcolm McKay at the time. One member did a year, sentenced to a year. So, but all through this, as I say, the truth will come out in the end. So the sooner you can deal with it, and the more you can convince your client to deal with it, life will go on, and it probably goes on a lot better. People have short memories, I think you'll find, and people are forgiving if you deal with it the right way. But to hold out and try and cover up doesn't work. I haven't heard of a successful cover-up yet. In fact, people remember cover-ups.
so that was day one. In October when I started. A couple of months later, the early page fiasco, I don't know the real word to use, but that came to an end with the verdict. From there, you go through the winter process and the budget process all the while. In a minority government, you never know if there's going to be an election or not. We had some good stuff happening as well, but it was very difficult because it was overshadowed. The Crown Share agreement that Premier MacDonald signed with Ottawa was certainly a highlight, but that got lost as an MLA's son crashed a government-owned car on the way for ice cream or something. And then we had these ATVs because someone thought it was a good idea that young children should be trained how to use ATVs because they're using them, and the best way to do that was to have the government buy these ATVs. So no shortage of events going on, and some we handled, I think, well, some not so great. John raised a good point when he said deal with it quickly. I think on the immigration one, if we had simply agreed to pay the money back when Story first broke, it wouldn't have been good, but it would have been over. Instead, it dragged on for at least another year. And at the end of the day, the government ended up paying money back. So, it's, the lesson there is just that, I think everyone knew what should have been done. There are all kinds of reasons why it wasn't done, but at the end of the day, the issue could have been shortened.
So Wade, in a circumstance like that where you're trying to give the Premier advice on what makes sense in terms of public appearances, how many other people are shouting advice to him that you're trying to be heard through?
There are all kinds, and with good reason. I'm not going to throw anyone under the bus because they, people who, there were some folks who were claiming that they had been mistreated, who, they hadn't lived up to their end of the bargain either, and so there needed to be some sort of an investigation into this, and I think everyone also recognized that. But from a purely political survival point of view, the best course of action would have been to deal with it quickly and move on. But there were others who were doing their job and saying, we can't do this because we may end up giving, and I guess a good example would be the situation surrounding the Shelburne Youth Center, where people did act very quickly and responded and paid compensation to people, and then later come to find out that all those people maybe didn't deserve that compensation. So the politically expedient thing to do was to deal with it, for lack of a better term, make it go away, and move on. But that can have consequences as well. So you're dealing with all of this. There's a million other things going on. MLAs are getting issues coming up in the constituencies. There are any other number of smaller issues in just day-to-day government that have to be dealt with as well. So it's not like you're dealing with any of these issues in a vacuum. So while I think from a political standpoint, dealing with it quickly is the best course of action. The reality is sometimes that's not always possible as well. One of the characteristics